Hi, this is Dennis with Second Chance Tackle, and today we're going to go back in time to a Penn 78. It's a vintage reel. It's one that I've picked up at a flea market. It's cost me approximately $10. These reels aren't used much anymore, but this one looked like it was in good condition, so I figured I'd add it to my collection. But while I was doing that, I was also going to take the time to show you what this reel is made of and how to service it. Now, I was told that this reel was serviced. A skeptic that I am will always take a look, but I do trust from the appearance of this reel that that's the case. Now, when you buy a reel from a flea market, if you intend to use it or intend to put it into service, I've mentioned on occasion things to look for. Now, this reel you won't find pieces and parts for, so you want to make sure that you have solid side plates, that there's no chips or cracks. And because the spool is Bakelite, you want to do the same thing. You want to make sure that the rims on the spool do not have the cracks. You want to make sure that the reel turns freely. In this case, it does. That all parts are operational. We're looking for the free spool here to work properly. And generally speaking, you'd like to make sure that the chrome is not severely tarnished, pitted, corroded, or otherwise. Now, a bit on the 78. So the 78 is a bigger size of the 77. It's a direct drive reel. There is no drag system on this. There is no anti-reverse on this because of the direct drive. So it's basically human powered here. The only difference, a difference to the 78 is this free spool lever allows you to do the drop fishing without the reel backpedaling on you. So that's a change there. So where did Penn go from the 78? Went to the 79, which was had the drag stack in it, and then it moved up in scale to the 85 Seaboy line. Now I don't have the 85, but this was the Delmar, which is the 285. And the difference between the 85 and the 285 was the addition of the metal spool and the change of the handle to the Bakelite bullet handle as opposed to this cone type of a handle. Also, it gave you access here with a screw, a handle screw that's different from the straight up screw on this one. From the 285, it went over to the Long Beach line, the 65. The 65 basically has the same gearing and look and feel of the Delmar, the exception being that they added 2 chrome inner metal rings here to strengthen that up a little bit. But the capacities and the gearing is pretty much the same. So the 78 was a nice reel, but again, it's a direct drive reel, and this one's probably about 40 or 50 years old. So let's take it apart, show you what's inside. I think I'm just doing an inspection here. He did tell me it was serviced, and I'm going to trust that it was serviced. So I start by taking the handle off here. And as you notice, I use a parts tray. I also use a protective glove to keep the lubricants off of my hand. I would recommend it if you work on reels for any amount of time that you go ahead and do the same thing. It's just a good practice to go do that. Now, one thing of note here is that there are, like most of these Penn reels I just showed you, there are 2 different size screws in the side plates. There's a smaller screw and a longer screw. You should be able to see that here. The small screw belongs on the reel seat. The long screw belongs in the cross posts. This is the reel seat. And if you put that long screw through here, it's going to stick out where it attaches, and that can snag the line. So I recommend that you make sure that you're putting the screws back where they belong. And one of the other things I recommend is if you don't work on reels a lot, take pictures along the way so that you know where the pieces and parts came from. And if you get stuck, you can go back and reference that on either your cell phone or your digital camera or whatever you use to take the picture. And also available, there is a schematic for most Penn reels. You can go to pennparts.com and grab the schematic, and that will show you the burst or the exploded view of that, where the pieces and parts belong if you got out of sequence there as well. Okay, so yeah, he's not kidding. This was serviced. That's fresh grease in there. And it's clean, so kudos to him. Somebody wasn't just making up a story there. Okay, so this one's a little bit different than the others. When you get up in the lines, you have the other Penn reels have the 4 screws holding on the bridge and holding the anti-reverse dog. There is no anti-reverse dog here. This is simply a bridge plate. There's nothing that attaches to this. There's 2 screws that hold that on, so we're going to go take those 2 off. And I'll show you the free spool release mechanism and the direct drive gear. And we'll just go check those out as well. Again, if I buy them either to use them, to repair them and put them in the market, or to just kind of collect, I like to do the same procedures regardless, just to make sure that I have a quality reel available there. Okay, so this is the free spool release. It's very similar in nature to the other products I was showing you, the Long Beach or the Seaboys. It has a jack, an eccentric, a spool gear, and it has the yoke which moves in and out as this moves up and down. I'm just going to take the main gear out. Again, that's been cleaned and serviced. I like to check on the main gear to make sure all of the teeth are there, that they're not bent or worn, and that's the case. This is in good shape, and I expected to see that just because the outside of the reel kind of indicates that this is a reel that's been treated kindly over its life. And again, this reel is probably 40 or 50 years old. Okay, on the other ones, on the Seaboys and that, you would have through screws on the plate here that would go back to the bridge assembly. In this case, you simply have the pins on these, but the setup is identical. And again, yes, it's been serviced, it's clean. And again, I'm checking here to make sure that there's no worn, chipped, broken teeth on that. Also, as a note on reassembly, this spool gear does have an indentation or a notch in it. That's true of the Delmars and the Long Beaches as well. Make sure that that notch is sitting out to accept the spool. You'll see on this spool here that there's a corresponding setup that enables this notch to slip over that and drive the spool. So this is in good condition. We're going to go ahead and put that back. It doesn't even look like any lubrication is necessary here. So I'm just going to go ahead and push that down, reassemble the jack over the yoke there, and we're in good condition there. So this is free floating here as a spool. So I took the handle off earlier, but I'm going to go put the handle on before I put the rest of the bridge plate on here, just to because it would have a tendency to slide in and disconnect if you didn't do that at this point. So I'm going to go ahead and put that handle back on so I can pull that direct drive gear into its proper position internally. Okay, now I've got that in. All I need to do now is reattach the bridge plate here. I'm going to do that by I'm going to push down on this. I'm going to grab the first screw. These are quality components. They're brass. They were a nice product for the time. And Penn has a reputation for high quality reels. There's no reason not to believe that. It's a very nice setup here, and they continue to be. There's some concern, I guess, with some of the newer reels. They're made offshore. Some of the components in them definitely are different. I've noticed the difference in the jig masters in terms of the quality of some of the internal workings. The metal parts are not brass any longer. They're not chromed. Even things like the diameters on the free spool release seem to have been narrowed. So there's there's been some economies taken, but overall it's still a nice product. I have my favorites, and I have my ones that I probably would stay away from in the Penn line, but in all lines. There we go. So we have a nice free turning reel here. I'm going to go put that back together. And again, when you reassemble now, you want to make sure that you use the long screws in the cross posts and the short screws on the reel seat. And when I do this, I like to disengage the free spool, which you just saw me trip the lever there. And I like to use a cross pattern here so that we put the side plate on square. If you kind of start putting these screws in a circular place, if you have tension on it, you may wind up with a bind. So we're going to just kind of go east and west here, north and south. Come down here, we'll take a shorter screw into the reel seat now. And then we'll just kind of do the same pattern again with the 3 remaining screws. And so overall, what did we see here? We saw a nice reel. It was appropriate for its time. You're not going to find anybody making direct drive reels these days. But back in the 60s, 50s, 60s, it wasn't uncommon for that. Certainly what you find is that because you don't have all these technologies built into this, there's less that can break. It really is a direct drive reel where you have a big gear and a little gear, and it turns a spool and it winds the spool up. So it's not full of creature comfort. It doesn't have a drag. You have to fight that manually. If you have a fish hooked up, you have to backpedal the reel to do that. And it has a low ratio. So if you were trying to use a jig or something on that, you would really be turning quickly to try and get the jig up to speed. But okay, so we're turning, and we got a nice reel. So that's the Penn 78. It's a nice classic reel. If you find one in this condition, it's probably worth collecting. You could try and take it fishing if you like. Again, just understand you're going to be working hard on this one, but do know that the one creature comfort it does have is the free spool to allow you to drop the line to the bottom in order to facilitate it without all of this backpedaling kind of thing going on there. But other than that, like I said, I paid less than $10. The guy was honest with me. It was recently serviced. It is in nice condition, and I'll put it on the shelf. If anybody asks, what is a 78, I have a good example of one in a collection. So I hope you've enjoyed that. If you did, please like it on YouTube. If you want to see more of these videos, please subscribe to my channel. And I post frequently, and I've been promising I'm going to do a Japanese reel from the 70s next. It's a Heading 260, and this time I really mean it. So if any of you have watched the other ones that I did, I kind of snuck that one in front of me, but I'm going to go do this one next. This is Dennis with Second Chance Tackle. Thank you for viewing the video.